Hamas are a huge component in this. People might not even want them there, but there's nothing they can do about them. Nothing at all.
The only two people in this document named is Donald Trump and Tony Blair.
The Board of Peace, we call it. The Board of Peace. Sort of a beautiful name.
Trump and Netanyahu's new Gaza peace plan calls for a technocratic transitional authority, a body with no Hamas involvement, designed to stabilise Gaza after the war. And who's being floated as a figure in that authority, eh? Tony Blair. Yes, the same Tony Blair who in 2003 took Britain into Iraq on the promise of weapons of mass destruction that never existed. A decision that split the nation and left scars across the armed forces. I'm Phil Campion, former UKSF, and this is Tactical Truth. Now, let's have a look at what the media is saying, shall we?
Well, as we've been reporting, Donald Trump's plan would appoint a board of peace chaired by the president as an oversight body, led by a committee that does include former Prime Minister Tony Blair. And Tony Blair has put out a statement in response to President Trump's announcement just in the last few minutes.
I wonder if he was invited or if he sort of like invited himself to this party, because it's sort of like, I know from having worked in that region when Tony Blair was there, that he would have been very keen to get involved with this. And I'm not going to lie as well. There's a great financial package there as well, I would imagine, and all. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to read that out to you. I don't know if we can put it on our screen, but President Trump has put down a bold and intelligent plan, which, if agreed, can end the war, bring immediate relief to Gaza, the chance of a brighter and better future for its people, whilst ensuring Israel's absolute and enduring security and the release.
There you go. Makes it sound quite simple there, but in truth, the key thing there, if agreed. If agreed. Those two words there absolutely derail that whole statement, to be honest. If agreed. Something that didn't manage to happen in his time, because it resulted in a complete takeover by Hamas. Hamas is still a key part of this, and they're not agreeing with anybody, are they? Do you know what I mean? They agree with themselves, and that's what they do.
Of all hostages. He goes on to say, it offers us the best chance of ending 2 years of war, misery and suffering, and I thank President Trump for his leadership, determination and commitment. In particular, his willingness to chair the Board of Peace to oversee the new Gaza is a huge signal of support and confidence in the future of Gaza, of the possibility of Israelis and Palestinians finding a path to peace, and of the potential for a broader regional and global...
I mean, quite a mouthful there, but, it all stems down to those two words, if. The one word, if. Do you know what I mean? If. Because they've been saying if for years, haven't they?
Alliance to counter the forces of extremism and promote peace and prosperity between the nations. So that is former Prime Minister Tony.
The extremities of this argument are so extreme, there's absolutely no mutual ground. How do you then say, right, you're going to have no involvement, how can you write somebody out of it that's so prominent within the strip, i.e. Hamas? How can you say they're not going to be involved? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts.
Blair, who, as we said, has also been named as one of the people alongside Donald Trump to be part of that oversight body led by a committee that does include Tony Blair himself. Now, in a moment, we'll speak to our Middle East correspondent, Adam Parsons. But first, let's go to our US correspondent, Mark Stone, at the White House. And Mark, I guess, reporters everywhere, Palestinians themselves, are scrambling to figure out exactly what this 20-point plan means. But we've just seen that statement there from Tony Blair. As you said to me earlier, the only two people in this document named is Donald Trump and Tony Blair.
Yeah, and that alone is pretty breathtaking, that they can be the only people who anyone is willing to put down on paper as the two people who will be at the top of this interim governing body that will manage Gaza in the short term. Look, I think it was so telling that two men who love to spar with the media, who love to answer questions, decided on this occasion not to face the music, not to face the many, many questions that many people have got. And the reason...
It's, for me, too damn right he doesn't want to come out and start facing questions now, because he's probably got no idea how he's going to achieve any of what's been set out. And that's the truth. for me anyway.
For that is because they just don't have the answers. I mean, on the face of it, they will say it's because they don't want to jeopardize this delicate process. But this morning we were being led to believe that this was it, you know, as James so perfectly put it at the beginning of his report, that this was peace in the making. But it's clear that it's not. One key part of this is missing, and that is Hamas, like it or not.
What am I saying the whole time? Hamas are a huge component in this. Within the Strip, people might not even want them there, but there's nothing they can do about them. Nothing at all.
They have to be part of any peace proposal that comes, because in simple terms, at its simplest, they are holding the hostages. And if those hostages are to be released, then clearly they have to buy into this. And the noises coming out of the Middle East tonight, I'm sure Adam will go into it, are not very positive at all. And to that, the response from Donald Trump is pretty chilling, effectively, or not effectively, in black and white, saying today in that news conference, if Hamas doesn't agree, well then, Bibi, as he said, you will do what you need to do. Basically, a green light to continue and to go much further in Gaza. So
exactly. So we're no further off than what we were before, are we? Do you know what I mean? In fact, he's sort of like he's almost green lighting it, you know. And ultimately, that's just going to mean that the suffering for the normal person is just going to go on and on and on and on. The real problems here are Hamas. They are a huge problem within this. They will not step down. They will not negotiate. They will not be brought to the table. It's an impossible situation.
So many unanswered questions. It appears to me that what has happened once again is that the Americans and the Israelis are negotiating with each other and then coming up with an ultimatum that they are presenting to.
You can't have a three-way conversation, and that's the problem, because they won't come to the table. So exactly what he said there, America are talking to Israel are trying to find a solution, but Israel will be quite happy to just keep going with the way they're going because they just want to keep the lid on it. They want to keep the lid on everything down there. That's what they call it, keeping the lid on it. Unfortunately, keeping the lid on it for other people is equating to genocide, isn't it?
Hamas. Now, you know, don't be fooled. There is, in no sense, is Hamas a good faith negotiator in any of this, not a good faith actor in any of this. Of course not. But if you are to try and find some sort of resolution, some compromise, some end to the conflict, then they have to be part of it. Either that or Israel continues with what it's doing in Gaza, and we've seen what that looks like over the past more than 700 days, continue until the bitter end, and what is left of Gaza then. So many unanswered questions. And look, you know, to your point, you raised Tony Blair. I put it to a official in the West Bank, a well-respected advisor to the Palestinian Authority, of course, distinct from Hamas, but also a body that has absolutely no say in this document, in what happens in Gaza until they have reformed, a kind of loose promise to give them some access to the future of Gaza once they've reformed. When will that be? But look, I put the point about Tony Blair to this official. I mean, I think his answer speaks volumes. He says Palestinians in general don't see Mr. Blair as anything else than a war criminal and a mercenary, and do not expect anything positive coming from his involvement.
Absolutely. So the element that you want to be buying into this, the element that you can't get buying into this, the element that you're going to struggle to get over the line in any capacity, absolutely hate the bloke you put in charge of it. That works, doesn't it? Involvement
in a region that he has already damaged. The legacy of the Iraq War, Tony Blair's legacy, that is the Iraq War, continues to haunt him. And I think for many people across the Middle East, it will be nothing short of breathtaking that he is being named effectively as a kind of interim prime minister of the Gaza Strip.
Wow, we've just seen what the press are saying, but here's our summary. The plan itself isn't surprising. Washington and Tel Aviv want Hamas out of power, replaced by a transitional body under international oversight. What's shocking is the choice of figurehead, Tony Blair. For the military community, Blair's legacy isn't one of peace or stability, it's of body bags flown home by the RAF, of lads and lasses sent into war on false pretences, with kit and equipment which wasn't up for purpose. For many, Blair's name is synonymous with betrayal. So why put him in Gaza? Is that about credibility or is it about optics? From Washington's point of view, Blair's a known quantity, a polished statesman who plays well on the global stage. But in Britain, especially in veteran circles, his credibility is burned. There's also a question of whether Gaza's people, already scarred by decades of occupation, blockades and broken promises, will trust a figure tied to one of the most disastrous wars in recent memory. If Blair couldn't bring peace to the Middle East as a quartet envoy in the 2000s, and I was there, why would he succeed now? The deeper issue here is legitimacy. A transitional authority can only work if the people on the ground believe in it. Dropping Blair into the mix looks more like recycling the past than building a future. And if the West wants credibility in the region, it should start by listening to those who've paid the price for bad decisions before. Both the soldiers who fought and the civilians who lived under the bombs. And if you want to hear the conversations we can't discuss openly, then join our membership for just 16 pence a day on ForceTV Plus. I'll see you next time.